The dingy bar on Keta Station reeked of stale beer, cheap perfume, and the sweat of a dozen species. Ravikhorn wrinkled his nose as he shouldered his way in through the crowd, ignoring the glares and muttered curses his passage elicited. As a human mercenary, he was used to being the odd man out in joints like this. Most of the clientele were aliens from across the galaxy, Gronzos, Krylons, Maktars, and a smattering of other races he couldn't even name. All of them hardened killers and thieves, the scum of 100 worlds. Ravik's hand never strayed far from the pulse blaster at his hip as he bellied up to the bar. He was confident in his skills, but only a fool let his guard down in a place like this. "Whiskey, Earth style," he grunted at the tentacled Razban bartender, "and make it a double." As he waited for his drink, Ravik's gaze roamed the room, taking in potential threats and exits with a practiced eye. That's when he saw her. She stood out like a supernova in the void of space. Amidst the grime and gloom, her skin shimmered in ethereal blue, her hair a cascading mane of crimson curls. High cheekbones, full lips, a lithe figure poured into a flight suit that left little to the imagination. But it was her eyes that snared him, depthless emerald pools that glittered with intelligence and something else, something wild and dangerous. Those eyes met his across the bar, held. There was a challenge in that stare, a dare. Ravik felt a jolt of raw attraction slam through him, fierce and primal. He didn't believe in love at first sight. Hell, he didn't believe in love, period. In his line of work, attachments got you dead, and pleasure was a commodity to be bought and sold. But this was something else. A recognition, perhaps. A meeting of kindred souls in a cold, unforgiving universe. He watched as she tossed back a shot of some noxious-looking alien liquor, her throat working. A pink tongue darted out to lick a stray drop from her bottom lip, and Ravik's pulse kicked. Picking up his own drink, he began making his way toward her, never breaking eye contact. He shouldered past a hulking Krylon, ignoring the alien's growled threat. He was just a few feet away when it happened. The blue-skinned beauty swayed on her feet, her eyes going unfocused. She shook her head as if to clear it, then abruptly crumpled to the floor in a boneless heap. Ravik lunged, shoving aside gawking onlookers. He reached her in 2 long strides and dropped to his knees beside her prone form. "Hey," he said urgently, giving her shoulder a shake. "Hey, wake up!" No response. Her skin was hot to the touch, her breathing rapid and shallow. Ravik swore under his breath. Scooping her limp body into his arms, he surged to his feet. The crowd parted before him as he strode toward the exit, the unconscious female cradled against his chest. He didn't know who she was or what was wrong with her, but he knew one thing with unshakable certainty. He would allow no harm to come to her, not on his watch. As he burst out into the neon-drenched night of Keta Station, Ravikhorn had no inkling of the dangerous path he just set his feet upon. No clue that the fate of galaxies would soon rest on his broad shoulders. All he knew was that for the first time in his rough, bloody, solitary existence, he had a purpose. He had someone to protect, and stars help anyone who tried to stand in his way. Ravik burst into the grimy alleyway behind the bar, the mysterious blue-skinned female still cradled in his arms. Neon signs flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows across her lovely face. He looked around frantically, spotting a stack of crates against the wall. Gently, he laid her down, cushioning her head with his rolled-up jacket. "Come on, sweetheart," he muttered, checking her pulse. It was racing beneath his fingertips, her skin feverish. "Don't you die on me now." A groan escaped her lips and her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, those mesmerizing emerald eyes opened, hazy and unfocused. What happened?" she croaked. Ravik exhaled in relief. "You collapsed in the bar. Scared the hell out of me. What's the last thing you remember?" She struggled to sit up and he helped her, his hand lingering on her bare shoulder. I was drinking a shot of Jack Daniels. The bartender said it was a rare Earth import." Ravik frowned. "Jack Daniels? That's a human drink. What's an alien like you doing knocking back whiskey from my homeworld?" A weak smile touched her lips. "I like to live dangerously. Try new things. My people, the Aurelians, we've never had much contact with humans. Your beverages, your customs, it's all a mystery to us." She shook her head ruefully. "Guess that'll teach me to take chances on foreign liquor." Ravik couldn't help but chuckle. "Sweetheart, If there's one thing humans know how to do, it's drink. Our alcohol is notorious across the galaxy for its potency, and you picked a hell of a whiskey to experiment with." He sobered, his gaze roaming over her trembling form with concern. "How are you feeling now? Think you can stand?" I think so." With his help, she got shakily to her feet, but the moment she was upright, her eyes went wide and a gasp tore from her throat. Ravik tightened his grip on her arms. "What is it? What's wrong?" Oh, stars." She sagged against him, her hands fisting in his shirt. "I feel so strange, like my blood is on fire, like I'm... She shuddered and Ravik felt it all the way to his bones. His body tightened in instinctive response as she pressed herself against him, all soft curves and searing heat. "Please," she panted, her eyes glazed and desperate. I need... Ravik swallowed hard. He was no stranger to desire, to the raw ache of want. But this was different. The need pouring off her was a palpable force, wild and consuming. "What's your name?" he asked hoarsely. "Astra," she breathed. "My name is Astra." "Astra," he repeated, savoring the feel of it on his tongue. "I'm Ravik, and I think that whiskey had a hell of an unexpected effect on you." She made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. "You think?" "I feel like I'm about to crawl out of my skin." Her hips rolled against him and Ravik bit back a groan. Lust surged through him, hot and urgent. He wanted nothing more than to bury himself in her sweet alien heat, to lose himself in her intoxicating embrace. But this was wrong. She wasn't in her right mind. The drink had done something to her, stripped away her inhibitions. Taking advantage would be unforgivable. Gritting his teeth, Ravik forced himself to take a step back. "Astra, listen to me. This isn't you, it's the alcohol talking. You don't really want this." Her eyes flashed with emerald fire. "Don't you dare tell me what I want, human," she hissed. "I know my own mind." She advanced on him, sinuous and predatory. Ravik's back hit the alley wall, and then she was on him, her mouth crashing down on his in a hungry, desperate kiss. For an instant, he was frozen, his mind shorting out at the feel of her lips moving over his. Then, with a low growl, he wrapped his arms around her and took control of the kiss. If she wanted this, wanted him, then he would give her everything, and damn the consequences. The kiss consumed them, a firestorm of need and hunger. Ravik's hands roamed over Astra's curves, mapping the unfamiliar terrain of her body. She was exquisite, all lean muscle and silken skin. Her own hands weren't idle, tugging at his clothes with frantic urgency. Cool air hit his chest as she ripped his shirt open, buttons pinging off the alley walls. "Need you," she panted against his mouth. "Need you now." Ravik groaned as her nails raked over his skin, her hips grinding maddeningly against his. The scent of her arousal filled his nostrils, a sweet musk that made his head spin. He knew he should stop this, knew it with every rational fiber of his being, but rationality had fled, burned away by the inferno raging between them. With a growl, he flipped their positions, pinning her to the wall with the weight of his body. Astra moaned, her head falling back as he trailed hot kisses down the column of her throat. He explored her curves through the thin material of her flight suit, relishing the way she responded to his touch. She was perfect, like she was made just for him. "Ravik, please." Her broken whisper nearly undid him. Fumbling with the fastenings of her suit, he peeled it down to her waist. Her skin glowed in the neon light, smooth and inviting. Ravik feasted on the newly bared flesh, drawing gasps and shivers from her with every brush of his lips. Astra clutched at his shoulders, arching into his touch like she couldn't get enough. He wedged a thigh between her legs, pressing intimately against her. She was molten even through the layers of their clothing, her need a pulsing, living thing. Ravik knew he was seconds from losing the last threads of his control, from taking her right here, fast and rough against the filthy wall of some backwater alley. But Astra deserved better for her first time with a human, and if he was being honest, so did he. Wrenching his mouth away from her addictive skin, Ravik fought for breath, for sanity. "Astra, wait. Slow down." She made a sound of protest, her eyes glazed with passion. "Don't want to slow down. Want you, all of you, Now. The bald statement of her need almost shattered his resolve. Ravik closed his eyes, drawing on years of battlefield discipline. I want that too, baby. More than anything. But not here. Not like this. Clarity slowly seeped back into her gaze, chasing away the wild fever. You're right. I don't know what came over me. I've never felt anything like that before. Ravik touched his forehead to hers, struggling to even out his ragged breathing. That makes two of us. There's something about you, Astra, something that brings out the beast in me. She shivered, her hands smoothing over his shoulders. Is that a bad thing? No, he said roughly. It's the best damn thing that's ever happened to me. But I want to do this right. Stepping back, he forced his unsteady hands to refasten her flight suit. Every instinct screamed at him to finish what they'd started, to lose himself in her sweet, willing body. But he was more than his base urges, more than a slave to his desires. He was a man who had finally found someone worth fighting for. Come with me, he said, holding out a hand. Astra stared at it for a long moment, then slowly she reached out and laced her fingers with his. Where are we going? Ravik smiled, a real smile, the first in longer than he could remember. Somewhere we won't be interrupted. Somewhere I can show you exactly how much I want you. Her eyes darkened, her tongue darting out to wet her lips. I like the sound of that. Hand in hand, they slipped out of the alley and into the neon-soaked night. The city pulsed around them, alive and indifferent. But for Ravik, everything had changed. The universe had shifted on its axis, realigning itself with dizzying speed. He didn't know what the future held, didn't know if he and Astra would burn fast and bright, or smolder slow and steady. All he knew was that he would savor every moment, every touch, every kiss, every sigh. He would brand himself on her body and soul, just as she had already branded herself on his. The galaxy could wait. Tonight, nothing existed but the two of them, and the promise of pleasure thrumming between them like a live wire. Tonight, they would make the stars themselves burn with envy. Ravik's quarters on Keta Station were simple and unadorned, reflecting the life of a soldier. But as he led Astra inside, the room took on a new, intimate air. The narrow bed was no longer just a place to sleep, but a stage for what was about to unfold between them. Astra stood in the center of the room, her eyes wide in the dim light. Ravik drank in the sight of her, marveling at her unique beauty. The points of her ears, the fall of her crimson hair, the luminescence of her skin. I've never done this before, she said softly. With a human. Ravik stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. We'll take it slow. I want to learn every inch of you, Astra. She shivered as he lowered his mouth to hers. The kiss was different this time. Less frantic, but no less passionate. Ravik poured every ounce of his desire, his growing feelings for her, into the slow slide of his lips over hers. Astra melted against him, her hands fisting in his hair as she opened for him. He explored her mouth, reveling in her exotic taste. Slowly, reverently, he peeled her out of her flight suit, revealing her inch by tantalizing inch. She was stunning, her body a work of art. Ravik took his time learning her with hands and mouth, discovering what made her breath catch, what made her pulse race under his lips. He paid special attention to the spots that made her gasp and tremble. And when he finally joined his body with hers, when they began to move together, it felt like coming home, like finding something precious he hadn't even known he'd been missing. Astra clung to him as they rocked together, her nails digging into his back, her cries intertwining with his groans. The universe narrowed to the slide of their bodies, the exquisite friction building between them. The pleasure built to a crescendo, washing over them in waves that left them both shaken. Ravik gathered Astra close in the aftermath, pressing soft kisses to her hair as they caught their breath. In the warmth of the tangled sheets, a sense of peace settled over them. For the first time, Ravik felt whole, like he had found a safe harbor in the chaos of the galaxy. He knew it was risky, knew he was putting his heart on the line, letting himself feel this much. Attachments were dangerous in his line of work. But holding Astra, feeling the way she fit so perfectly in his arms, Ravik couldn't bring himself to care. For this moment, nothing existed beyond the walls of his quarters, beyond the incredible woman who had turned his world upside down. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats. But tonight, Ravik let himself hope. Let himself believe that maybe the universe had brought them together for a reason, even if it meant taking a chance with his battle-scarred heart. Ravik woke slowly, awareness seeping into him like honey. He was warm, relaxed in a way he couldn't remember feeling in years. There was a weight on his chest, a silken tangle tickling his chin. He opened his eyes and looked down. Astra was sprawled across him, her crimson hair fanning over his chest, her face soft and peaceful in sleep. The events of the night before came rushing back, the bar, the alley, the frantic coupling in his quarters. Ravik's body stirred at the memory, desire unfurling lazily in his gut. He traced a finger down the smooth expanse of Astra's back, marveling at the softness of her skin. She murmured something unintelligible and nuzzled closer, her breath warm against his neck. A feeling of tenderness, foreign and fragile, bloomed in Ravik's chest. He wanted to protect this woman, to shield her from the harshness of the universe. It was an unfamiliar urge for a man who had always looked out for himself first and foremost. Astra stirred, her lashes fluttering open. For a moment, she looked disoriented, her eyes darting around the room. Then her gaze settled on Ravik, and a slow, sleepy smile curved her lips. "Good morning," she murmured, her voice husky from sleep. "Morning," he rumbled back, his hand still stroking her back. "How are you feeling?" She stretched languorously, her naked body sliding deliciously against his. Good, really good. You?" "Never better." And it was true. Ravik couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this content, this centered. Astra propped herself up on his chest, her hair tumbling around them in a crimson curtain. Her green eyes were clear and searching as she studied his face. "So, last night was incredible," Ravik finished for her. "Earth-shattering, life-changing." Her smile widened, turning playful. "I was going to say unexpected, but I like your descriptors better." He chuckled, tucking a lock of hair behind her pointed ear. "I aim to please." Astra's expression turned thoughtful. "What happens now, Ravik? I'm not looking for a casual fling." Ravik's heart clenched. The thought of Astra walking out of his life, of never holding her like this again, filled him with a sharp, clawing panic. "I'm not either," he said roughly. "I know we just met, Astra. I know this is fast. But what I feel for you, it's real. It's big, and I want to see where it leads." Her eyes shimmered, her bottom lip trembling slightly. "I want that too. I feel like the universe brought us together for a reason. Like this is the start of something amazing." Ravik cupped her face in his hands, stroking his thumbs over her cheekbones. "So we're doing this? You and me, together?" She nodded, a single tear spilling down her cheek. "Together, come what may." He kissed her then, pouring all the feelings he couldn't quite put into words into the press of his lips, the slide of his tongue. Astra melted into him, her arms twining around his neck as she kissed him back with equal fervor. The kiss quickly turned heated, desire sparking between them like a live wire. Ravik rolled them over, settling between Astra's thighs as his hands roamed greedily over her body. He was just reaching between them, intent on stoking her pleasure, when a shrill beeping cut through the charged air. Ravik froze, his head snapping up. It was the sound of an incoming transmission on his comms unit. Astra tensed beneath him, her eyes going wide. "Is that?" "It's my contact," Ravik confirmed grimly. "The one who hired me for the job I'm on Kata Station to complete." He rolled off her with a muttered curse, stalking naked to the comms unit on the wall. He jabbed at the answer button with more force than necessary. "Horn here. What is it?" A flickering hologram sprang to life, a cloaked and hooded figure, features obscured. Ravik's employer was notoriously secretive, paranoid even. He had never seen the man's face. "Change of plans, Horn," the figure said, its voice distorted and androgynous. "The job's off. The client got cold feet. They're pulling out of the deal." Ravik blinked, surprise and relief warring within him. "Just like that? What about my payment?" The figure waved a dismissive hand. "You'll be compensated for your time. Consider it a gift. Enjoy your unexpected vacation on Kata Station." The hologram winked out, leaving Ravik staring at the blank wall in disbelief. A slow grin spread across his face as the implications sank in. He turned to find Astra sitting up in bed, the sheet pulled around her waist. Her eyes were wide and curious. "Well?" she asked. "What did they say?" Ravik prowled back to the bed, his smile turning predatory. "They said the job's off. I'm officially on vacation." Astra's face lit up, her own smile blooming. "Really? So that means, Ravik said, crawling over her, "that I have all the time in the world to spend with you. No interruptions, no distractions. Just you, me, and this bed." Astra laughed, the sound bright and joyful. She looped her arms around his neck, pulling him down for a kiss. "I like the sound of that," she murmured against his lips. "But I think we're going to need sustenance at some point. We can't live on sex alone." Ravik nipped at her bottom lip, grinning. "Is that a challenge? Because I'm willing to test that theory." She swatted at his shoulder, giggling. "How about a compromise? Breakfast first, then we see how long we can go without leaving this room." I suppose I could be persuaded to hunt down some food. For you." He kissed the tip of her nose. "But after that, all bets are off." Astra smiled up at him, her eyes soft and warm. "I'm looking forward to it, to all of it, to seeing where this crazy, wonderful thing between us leads." Ravik's heart swelled, emotion clogging his throat. "Me too, Astra. Me too." He kissed her again, slow and deep, savoring the taste of her, the feel of her. This incredible, unexpected gift the universe had given him. He didn't know what the future held, didn't know what challenges they would face, what obstacles they would have to overcome. But he knew one thing for certain: he was never letting this woman go. Astra was his future, his destiny, his everything. And as they lost themselves in each other once more, their laughter and sighs of pleasure mingling in the air, Ravik knew he had finally found his home. In her arms, in her heart, he was exactly where he was meant to be, and he would fight with every breath in his body to keep it that way. Because sometimes the universe gave you exactly what you needed, even if you didn't know you needed it. And Ravik intended to hold on to this gift, this precious second chance, with both hands, forever and always. After all, he was a mercenary, and he always got his target, even if that target turned out to be love.